opposed to abortion argue the pill will still not...
When he says in a perfect world, it means there is no picture of that.
No,
there's absolutely no hope whatsoever.
It's going to
be a map with Beirut written on it.
Now, who might that be?
Hello, Michael.
Now, look, most of this might not be ready, I gather.
Yes, I understand there's a whole loads of things that won't be ready.
Yes, oh, that's good.
Great. Good luck, Michael.
Thank you. The real problems are not when there's some big news story happening and everything coming in at you, because there's the kind of adrenaline running and all the rest of it. Actually, the biggest and most worrying disasters tend to be when everything's absolutely buttoned up a long time in advance.
There is nothing to go on air with apart from the opening titles.
15 seconds.
Sorry, I can't advise you any further. There is nothing available. Let me know, grab a VT the moment anything
10,
comes in.
9, 8, 7, 6,
Run titles.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. On air.
On air. Good luck to everyone. We need it today.
29 seconds on titles.
Anything, TX? Anything? Right, we have nothing, Michael, I'm afraid.
Right, abortion is ready if Orchard isn't there.
Get abortion into TX as soon as possible. I'll let you know if you have to go on to that first. And mix.
8, 7,
Zoom 5, animate charisma.
3.
Stand by for my first cue
1, 0.
and cue.
Good afternoon. The Cabinet
No, I shouldn't have mixed it in yet.
tried to very talk of divisions over the economy and foreign policy.
Run both animate
6,
and zoom it out.
Most of the major reports of the programme weren't ready. And that was the principal thing, and particularly the sort of lead report. Neither was the second story, neither was the third story, neither was the fourth story. So then there was absolutely nothing to do. So we had to do the interview that was meant to follow the report first. You end up running what's ready, rather than what, in mature judgment, would be, you know, the most important, second most important, third most important story of the day.
What have you got? We've got rubella. They don't have it. What do you have?
Spain and ambulance.
Animate. They only have ambulances.
And Spain.
Have they got
Spain.
rubella? The stage is set for a... No, we do not have
They
this
have it.
story, Mike. What have you got?
Do you want to go to the interview right away? We can go to the interview first if you like.
Yeah, can we go to John Biffin?
John Biffin interview after this intro.
The Street dismissed the controversies as silly games created by the media. Well, joining me now from Westminster is the former Leader of the House and Chief Secretary to the Treasury, John Biffin.
What a relief. We're off air, everybody. That was quite an extraordinary little episode.
Which thankfully will not...
We'll say prayers that we'll get the lead item, but it would help if I knew what the lead item would be. It's grim.
At this stage, anyway, it's a very quiet day, and those are the most disappointing ones, really. I mean, any journalist wants a big story. It's not just sort of disasters and so on, but a kind of feeling that something of moment is happening, something that is going to pin the world back by the ears. It's really important news. It'll get people listening to the news and thinking, gosh, getting people on the edge of their seats because something really important is happening. That's the sort of thing that gives a journalist adrenaline, but at this stage it hasn't happened.
Press Association, Chancellor Nigel Lawson has resigned.
We're going to go over the shore, normal shore. We've got a crew at the house, and we're getting Sergeant into the studio for 5 minutes' time. John Cole's been found, so John Cole does not need to be phoned.
Okay then, well thank you very much for your help. Fine.
Try and rustle up Daniel Jeffries as fast as you can.
One.
Crew in his house and a crew outside the Treasury. Tim!
Right. Okay, is there somebody else?
They're sending somebody. All right, okay, look, I'll soldier through anyway. We'll have a separate meeting we can take afterwards.
Could you phone him and do that?
The 6 o'clock news from the BBC with Andrew Harvey and Moira Stewart.
Good evening. The headlines at 6 o'clock. The Chancellor, Nigel Lawson, has resigned. The shock announcement came a short time after the Prime Minister had defended him in the Commons. She said, advisers advise and ministers decide.
Right, okay. The strategy is we're going to build up blocks, which ought to be sufficiently simple that we can run them, even though some packages in an ideal world would be conflated. But the plan is we will assign producers to individual building blocks, and we'll see as we go whether they can be conflated. Building block 1, the basic news event, which Adrian Van Claveren should do with John Sargent. I think tactically my initial impulse is that Sargent is going to have to stay down there. It's clearly tonight, wherever Lawson is, whatever shots we can get of Lawson tonight, if we have to begin with a zoom in to an empty building, that's where we go. We then go back through the quarter-inch exchange in the House of Commons, in which Thatcher seemingly backed with this new formula both Walters and Lawson, and then crucially we soak up as much of the front page reaction as we can.
Sergeant is doing a package for 9.
Is he? Okay.
And then once he's finished that, we'll be able to go to one of the live cameras. But I want somebody in the end of another live camera in Downing Street, in case anything's happening there, live at 9 o'clock.
But tracking back, Wunderkind, medium-term financial strategy, the architect of the election triumph allegedly in 87, things began to go wrong, criticised very heavily for shadowing the Deutschmark last year, interest rates fiasco, heavy attack, Mansion House speech, all the rest of it. Lawson profile.
He will want to be remembered as the Chancellor who cut taxes.
Right, the following are the people that we need to chase. We must make certain that the bid is in for the Treasury. Lawson. Any other Treasury Minister. We will phone Downing Street and see who Downing Street, if anybody, is prepared to put up for the government. They probably won't put up Thatcher, they may put up somebody else, a loyalist. All right, and I will assign 2 people to this, and between them they've got to be sensible in working with intake and not duplicate the phone calls, and then report back to me at half-an-hour intervals and telling me who we've got. All right, scatter on that.
Could we phone up the Financial Times and see where Samuel Britton is? And if he's available, bring him in.
News organiser, a news flash from PA, John Major has been appointed the new Chancellor.
That's hysterical. That's so crazy.
Well,
Major profile.
wow. Major profile as well, yeah.
Hello, is Gus O'Donnell there, please? Hello, it's BBC Television 9 o'clock news, Adrian Van Claveren. A series of requests. First of all, where is Mr. Lawson at the moment? Are you able to say that? Right. Is there any possibility of an interview with him for tonight's 9 o'clock news?
Wait a minute, the comments don't...
Right, the 9 o'clock news will take him either recorded or live, whatever form he prefers.
There will be shots of Lawson, shots of Walters, shots of the Treasury tonight.
And get Kinnock out. Is now David Waddington.
We get Kinnock live.
It's N1, okay. Newsflash in N1. N1, where's Andrew?
Okay.
Douglas Hurd.
Yeah, but he's Douglas Hurd. His place at... Do we have a new Home Secretary?
Yes, David
Okay.
Waddington.
Yeah, his place at the Home Office.
Hang on.
All right, yeah, he's gone back.
If we put together the Secretary of North there, we'd be able to do a better job of it. I mean, you know, it's a question of what we can find out on Sunday.
Foreign statement, line 2.
I have to keep an eye on what is my job. My job is basically to be a fairly senior member of the editorial team. So I have a say here and a little bit of advice here and there on what goes into the programme as a whole. Once I've done that, I've got to cut myself off from that to do the jobs that I have to do.
Kinnock can go anywhere but probably ought to come to the script. He's come to the changes, that's all right. Kinnock is not going to do it, almost certainly. He's going to be in the sergeant package, assuming the sergeant package is ready on time. So now it becomes a question of, if we go with Ashdown, who, as it were, in terms of more representation, ought to go immediately after the sergeant, where we stuff Owen. All right, I'll sort that.
But before, long before...
There isn't an insert in the top slug. It says insert on the screen. There's no insert.
In private, senior Tories were convinced that...
Mark, Baker has said yes.
Well, okay.
About 30 seconds. Everyone settle down, please.
15, swear, 15.
John.
Peter.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0.
The Chancellor, Nigel Lawson, resigned tonight, taking the government, Westminster and financial markets around the world totally by surprise.
Run titles.
Good evening. The Chancellor, Nigel Lawson...
This really was unexpected. I mean, totally unexpected. And a complete shock on a very, very dull news day. So it does tend to sort of knock you sideways a bit. That's the first thing. Then there's the sort of every journalist feeling of excitement over a big story. And I think the danger is actually getting swept up in it too much. A lot of these big things with many different aspects to them. The difficulty, I think, is a producer's difficulty as much as anything else in kind of dividing it all up so that, you know, everybody knows what they're doing and which bits, so you cover everything. You know, there's an awful danger that everybody gets terribly excited and runs around as if they're chickens with their heads cut.